Now we shall consider the first question in projection of solids. Draw the projections of a cube 50 mm edge resting on HP on one of its faces. One of its faces is parallel to VP also. So this is our question. So this is regarding a cube. The edge length of the cube, it is given as 50 mm. It is mentioned that the cube is resting on the horizontal plane. Okay, it is resting on the horizontal plane and it is resting on one of its faces. So obviously we know that all the faces of a cube, they are squares. So it is resting on one of its square faces, and at the same time one of its other square face, it is also parallel to VP. It is also parallel to the vertical plane. Now first we shall see the naming procedure regarding a cube. Naming procedure regarding a cube, and then we shall come to the problem. So here we are having a cube. So please remember that now we are viewing the top view of this particular cube. We are watching the top view of this particular cube. So it has got 8 corners, is it? A, B, C, D. I have just named it. It has got 8 corners here. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 plus 4, it has got totally 8 corners. I have just named it. So I have named this corner as corner A. This is corner B. This is C. This is D. And the same way, the corner that is just below A. So here we are having A. I have just named it as A1. Okay, here it is named as A1. The corner which is below B, I have named it as B1. The corner which is below C, I have named it as C1. And the corner which is below D, I have named it as D1. Okay, so that is how we are naming the particular solid. So here A, B, C, D, and just below A it is A1, below B it is B1, below C it is C1, and below D it is corner D1. So this is how I have named it. So when you are observing from the top, you can see 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the other 4 corners are invisible. And you can see 4 edges also, 1, 2, 3 and 4 edges are visible, and all the other edges are invisible in the top view, is it? And also the other faces, the other square faces, they are also invisible in the top view. Here we are having a square face, here also we are having a square face, here we are having a square face, here also we are having a square face, and it is resting on a square face also. That particular square face is also invisible when you are observing it from the top. So please remember this. So this is how it is placed on the horizontal plane. So when you are watching from the top, you are getting the top view as a square, and you are getting in its true dimension, The edge length of the cube, it is given as 50 mm. So what is 50 mm? The length of AD, or the length of AB, or the length of BC. Okay, or this length, it is 50 mm. So when you are observing from the top, you are getting this as a square which is having a length of 50 mm. Sorry, that is our top view. So this is how I have named it, and these are the basics regarding the naming procedure, is it? So this face, we can call it as face A, B, C, D. This is an edge, you can call this edge as AD, this edge is AB, this edge is BC, this edge is CD. Okay, so this corner, it is named as A, this corner is B, this is C, and this is D. Okay, now we shall see how we can draw it on a 2D sheet of paper. So as I have mentioned earlier, here presently I have focused the camera from the top side and you are viewing the top. Okay, so the view in the top, that is the top view, it is represented on the horizontal plane. So we are considering the object in the first quadrant. So whatever object is present in the first quadrant, its top view will be below the xy line. Its top view will be below the xy line. So below the xy line, you will be getting a square with 50 mm edge length. So that will be the top view of the corresponding solid. And corners A, B, C, D will be visible, but the corner that is below A, which is A1, it will be invisible. The corner which is below B, that is B1, it will be invisible. The corner that is below C, which is C1, it will be also invisible. And the corner below D, which is D1, it will be also invisible. So in the top view, 4 corners are invisible and 4 corners are visible. The visible 4 corners are A, B, C, D, and you have to represent it using small letter A, B, C, D. Now we shall draw it. So please remember that the distance of this particular cube with respect to the vertical plane, it is not given. Okay, so when you're observing from the top, you can see the vertical plane as a line, okay, which is coinciding with the xy line. When you're observing from the top, you can see the vertical plane as a line which is coinciding with respect to the xy line. So when you're drawing the top view, the xy line will be our reference, and in this particular case the distance with respect to the vertical plane, it is not mentioned. So you can draw this particular top view anywhere below the xy line, but you have to remember that one of the square faces must be parallel to VP. So here you imagine that here we are having our vertical plane. So here let us imagine that this is our vertical plane. So when you're observing from the top, we can see it as a line. So here we are having a face. Is it? Here we are having a face. This what will be the name of this face? This face will be BC, C1 and D1. Okay. So below B we are having B1. Below C we are having C1. So here we are having a square face. The name of this square face is BCC1 B1. Is it? Here we are having a square face, and this particular square face is parallel to VP. So when you are observing from the top, here you will be seeing the xy line which is coinciding with the vertical plane, and edge BC will be parallel to the xy line. Here this distance is not specifically mentioned in the question, so we need not take into account this distance. Anywhere below the xy line we can draw this edge BC. Okay, actually this edge BC, it is representing a square face which is on the other side. So now we shall draw the top view of this particular square face of this particular cube. So this is the xy line. Below the xy line we will be obtaining the top view. We shall draw the top view. You take a line parallel to the xy line. Draw a continuous thick line. Again the same is repeated. This is the top view. Now we shall name the top view. So as I mentioned, this corner is A, this will be B, this is C, and this is D. We have got 4 more corners which are invisible, so that we shall name it after naming the top corners. The top corners are A, B, C, D. Is it? Now 4 more corners, they are invisible in the top view. They are A1, B1, C1 and D1. So let us name it also. So here A1 is invisible. Likewise B1 is also invisible. So 4 visible corners and 4 invisible corners. Now we shall discuss about the front view. Now we shall discuss about the front view, which corners are visible in the front view. That is what we are going to discuss now. So here we are having A, B, C, D. So presently you are watching the solid from the top. So this is the front direction. So what is the name of the front face that is located here? The front face that is located here. Below A we are having corner A1. Below D we are having corner D1. So this front face is A, D, D1, A1. A, D, D1, A1. Is it? That is it. This one is the front face. Okay. Now we are going to focus the camera from the front side. Okay, in order to get the front view. Now we are looking the object from the front and you are getting the front view. So what is a front view? Front view is again a square, and the name of the corners that are visible in the front view, they are A, D, D1, A1. Is it? So A, D, D1, A1, these are the corners that are visible in the front view. You can see a square. When you are observing from the front, you can see a square only. You cannot see this square face, this one, and this one. They are invisible in the front view, is it? So which are all the edges, which are all the corners that are invisible in the front view? Here we are having corner A. Behind that we have got one more corner that will be invisible. Behind D we have got one more corner that is invisible. Behind A we are having, behind A1 we have got one more corner that is invisible, and behind D1 also we have got one more corner that is also invisible. So let us just check which are all the corners that are just behind A, D, A1 and D1. I am just rotating it to the back side. So you are having corners. So this is A, behind A we are having B. This is D, behind D we are having C. This is A1 and behind A1 we are having B1. This is D1, behind D1 we are having C1, is it? So this is how it is placed in the first quadrant. We are having A, D, D1, A1 as visible corners, and the corners which are behind these corners, that is A, D, D1, A1, they are invisible, is it? And when you're observing from the front view, you can see only a square, is it? Where is this solid placed? This solid is placed on the horizontal plane. So when you're observing from the front, you will be able to see that the solid is just placed on the horizontal plane, and when you're observing from the front, the horizontal plane and the xy line, they will be one and the same. So when you're observing from the front, you feel that a square is placed on the xy line. When you're observing from the front, you feel that a square is placed on the xy line. And we shall see how to draw the front view. So extend projectors from the top view to the xy line. In the front view, you will be able to see this cube as a square which is having an edge length of 50 mm. So the height of the square will be again 50 mm. Obviously this distance is 50 mm and the height is also 50 mm. So let us draw a square which is having a height of 50 mm. Now we shall name the solid as mentioned earlier. So this is the front face, is it? So A and D will be visible. A1 and D1 also will be visible in the front view, is it? So let us name it. So this will be A dash. This will be D dash. This will be A1 dash. And this will be D1 dash. Likewise, the corners that are invisible in the front view, here this is the back side of the prism, back side of the cube, is it? Invisible corners will be on the top, it will be B and C, is it? So behind A we are having C, behind A we are having B, which is invisible. We shall write it in brackets because it is invisible, so B dash, and behind D we are having C, which is again invisible. So we have to write it as C dash in brackets because it is invisible. And behind A1 dash we are having B1 dash, which is again invisible. And behind D1 dash, behind D1 we are having C1, is it? So C1 dash will be invisible. Now we shall dimension. So this is how we will be naming it. This is the top view and this is the front view. Please remember that in the front top view you can see only this square. Four corners will be visible and four corners will be invisible. In the front view also you can see it as a square. Again four corners will be visible and four corners will be invisible. All the invisible corners you have to note it inside brackets. Now we shall dimension it. I'm mentioning here this is square. Okay, this is, I have just drawn a small square. This means that this is a square which is having a dimension of 50 mm. Dimension of 50 mm. Here also I am marking it as square 50 because in the front view also this is a square of 50 mm edge length. So this is how we will be representing it.